Hey, I'm here today with Mark, who is our melted reality. Hello, Mark.
What's happening, Karen?
Oh, I want to say to you, red brick.
Red bricks.
We were making a few jokes before we came on. We wanted to say the whole world is a red brick.
Yes, one big melted red brick.
I was really shocked when we had a hang. Oh, I've got to put the video on. That would help, wouldn't it? I've got this little video and nothing's happening. It's just a black screen. It's going to start now. Where are we? Start video. Start. Why is it? There it goes. It's starting now. Come on. There's no picture on it. Here we go. We're starting now. What was I going to say now? Oh yeah, you said that when they find clay, that's melted red brick.
Yes, that's what I think. Red clay, white sand, sand, dirt. That's just I call it brick ash. It's just it's just more heat. It's more cooked than say the rock or slate or the brick. That's what it turns into, or did turn into. And they say it's from weather erosion and all this, and it's made of the same things as the rock around certain areas in that area. But yeah, it's all the same to me.
Also, did you know when you went to that fort the other day, is it Pickard's fort, that's a star fort? It's a star fort.
Yeah, it's Fort Pickens, and honestly, I took my drone, and I didn't know there was so much going on that day. They had the Blue Angels, and then there was just, everybody went there. They practiced that day I was going, so didn't get to fly the drone, so I didn't really even research as far as if it was a star fort, but I realized it pretty soon once I was there, and then, of course, when I watched the videos and researched a little bit, played back my videos, and but yes, it was a star fort, and there's actually another one not too far from there that I was going to go to. That's in the other direction, but this one looked more interesting.
Just for people watching this video,
Fort Gaines.
So just for people watching this video, Mark, this video here is you at, what fort is it again? Pickens Fort.
Pickens. Yeah.
Yeah.
I kept getting confused because it said there was one Fort Gaines really close to it, and I kept calling it Fort Pickens Gaines or something, I don't know, but it is Fort Pickens.
And then what it was is, because of your video, and we weren't sure whether you noticed it, was because we were looking at it, a star fort. We made another one about it being a star fort. And it's really strange because it looks like it's a turtle, doesn't it? Or you could say a flattened out eagle because it's got these funny things as feet on pictures, like drawn pictures. They'll show its feet and they look like bird claws. But it could be, what did I say? It was a turtle or a bird because it's laid out flat. That's the shape of that one. That's what I saw in the pictures. Not your picture, just on the internet when we were looking it up. But I find these things just incredible. Really, I do. The effort just to even make that one fort, because it's all built up in the middle.
Yeah, so the story behind it, 1838, it was finished. It took 5 years. This is all supposedly. 21.5 million bricks. It is a star fort, technically, but there's a part of it that is not connected. And so it didn't really see any war or anything, so they put a narrative behind it as it was 6.5 million pounds of gunpowder that went off at that specific part, and it blew up and went all in the ocean and whatever. It's probably how they explain bricks in the ocean right there. But that's their narrative of why it's not connected anymore.
Yeah, what it is
we
said that it looks a bit like a turtle, but one of its feet is broken off in this footage. But show it a bit later on that it's got its broken foot. And that's really strange because they've obviously come in that way, haven't they? They've obviously got in that way.
Yeah, and then the black part that you'll see in one of the videos, they call it a fort in a fort, and they supposedly built it in 1898 because the outside just didn't do good enough, and they had to make another fort inside
of it. Fort in a fort. That's what it says. Yeah, fort in a fort.
Yeah. And they say it's black because they painted it because of the glare back in 1898. So there's that, which I don't believe any of that. So.
Do you think, my Mickey thinks that a lot of these things have been repurposed over time? You know, just repurpose them, and some of them might have, not houses, not these ones, but they just turn them into different things.
Yeah. I mean, they'll turn them into a hotel or a gift shop, whatever. They do repurpose a lot of them, and they blend stuff in, so it gets hard to tell what's old and new. But I usually can tell doing the boots. What's new and what's old, it's not really hard to tell.
Do you find most of these forts, they're by the sea, aren't they?
Yeah, they're flooded. Because this one's on a peninsula. I mean, it's basically an island. I was staying only 11 miles away from it, and it took me over an hour to get there because you have to go all the way around. It's barely connected to the main land, I guess, the Florida Panhandle. But it's just a huge, I don't know how many miles it is, peninsula. And the park is like 700 acres or something. It's just immense. And there's forts all around there, within an hour driving distance, probably 2 or 3 more forts.
So where would it be looking out to sea then, this one, by the way? Which way would it be looking? Looking over towards England? Looking over towards, I can't think.
Well, if you're looking at the water in any of those pictures, which there's water all around it, but the main part where you don't see any land, that's just goes straight south.
Right.
Like if you were at the bottom of Alabama or Florida, and just like you're looking towards the Keys, Key West and stuff.
Oh, right, there is one out in the sea, isn't there? About 60 miles out. I did that one.
Yeah,
and then they proved that there used to be woods and forests and things there, and it's underwater now.
Yeah, it's all flooded. That's what I think too, as far as just like this peninsula, Fort Pickens. It didn't used to have water around it. It just came up. So, I mean, I was there a long time ago, but I think it coincides with this apocalyptic meltdown. Got flooded and melted at the same time, basically.
So what do you reckon that is then with all this melting? What's your theory on that, Mark? Because obviously you're really into this, and all you go on about is this burnt brick.
Yeah, the only thing I can really positively say myself is it looks like if we're on a grid, something happened. It melted everything from the bottom up, realm wide, but you do still see tops of structures, or even say mountains or whatever, that are scorched or melted on the top. But most times it looks like it does. The heat is going from the bottom to the top, and it stops the electrical current, whatever. It's like a lightning bolt. It stops at some point. There's no more energy. So the theory, that's all that I would know.
Do you think any of these got ruined by tornadoes or anything?
I don't think so. As far as you talking about the destruction of the buildings, or
yeah, maybe, I don't know, but it is really weird that there's this flooding thing that goes on, this burnt thing that goes on. It's all kind of the same, isn't it? It's not like, oh, well, that one got destroyed because you can't prove anything anymore. We don't trust what they tell us anyway, and there's so much defence.
Right.
What were they defending against?
Yeah, there's no telling what was involved in this thing, and the tornadoes out, everything, and I think, they instigate all that today, personally. But yeah, so there's no telling what went along with this apocalyptic, event. So. Yeah.
Did you ever think that your path would be to teach us all about burnt brick?
Absolutely not.
And you know what, Mark? When you go to loads of videos, people now say about burnt brick. So whatever you've said has gone far.
Yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised. When I first started doing this, I never thought I would put a video out. and my buddy Spartan Red over at his channel, he inspired me to just start a channel. But back then, it's almost been a year, and it was, you know, really low key still, and it's blown up. And I try to present myself just a raw, boots on the ground, and then some music, and just a different avenue for people to maybe just look at what's around them. But there's so many channels out there now too with Meltology. It's I'm loving it. I can actually, you know, watch other stuff instead of just a couple of people or something. So
yeah,
and I enjoy it. But yeah, I would never guess.
I wrote to Shepu the other day. I know you know who he is, and I love all the pictures he puts in. But have you hit a brick wall with all this though? Can you just go so far and then I can't get any further? Is that how it feels?
Yeah. I mean, I've thought about that. Like, okay, what's the stopping point here? But I enjoy just going out and looking at different stuff. And I actually, every time I go somewhere, I find a similarity with another place I've been to, or pictures I've seen from other meltologists or whatever. And it's never ending. I learn something every day, really.
Yeah, because I remember, like, you know, obviously we were talking about the tree guy, and you're saying, yeah, you understand exactly what he's talking about, and you can see it happens there, but it doesn't happen for you.
Exactly, yeah. Like, in his area, when he was talking about it years ago, he probably still talks about it, I don't know, but, and then I would go out, because I was just trying to eliminate things, and it wasn't matching up as far as the tree thing, so, and that was about 3 years ago or so, and then it just popped for me. And it was really basically doing boots, going out there and touching it and looking at it, seeing it anywhere. You could be in foothills, mountains, old world buildings. They all have a connection with the heat damage.
They're also magnificent inside, though. I mean, how they built these things. I mean, there's just no way we could have had horses and carts. I looked things up, Mark. Basically, ships. Yeah. What was it? Ships, guns, bullets. Was it bullets? Cannons, wheels. There's a few more things. Shoes, beds. For hundreds and hundreds of years, they were the same.
Yeah, I saw your video on that. It was great. As far as, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years, and there's nothing changed, supposedly. Yeah, you know.
Not really.
So, and then all of a sudden, right. Yeah. So, yeah, nothing makes sense.
And do you find that when you're looking at this stuff, it's old, and then you think, well, that's a different era to that, and that's a different era to that, and they're all together.
Right. Just like the graveyards, you know, you'll be like, well, that looks different. This looks different. 18 whatever, then 18 and late 1800s. But it's just, to me, it's just different heat damage, and it's changed stuff to look differently, and then they just put narratives on it and call it different eras. Just like the fort, or all the forts around here, they call them forts, and then they'll call stuff coke ovens, and then they'll call stuff. It's just what they look like.
I think I know what you mean.
After the event,
Mickey sort of realised that they're going to call things, say, a mill or a tower, and then you realise it's a bell tower. Yeah. It's something different. They never tell you. It's just a massive lies. It's just lies.
Yeah, lighthouse, cannons, whatever. They're just putting just BS narratives on them. Which it's usually the opposite of what they say, so I try to start there.
I mean, you know what? We had a bit of a sort of shock yesterday. I mean, I know it's not really, but we looked up asylum, because basically we found out that some of the royal family were put into an asylum. But when you look up asylum, it says you're a refugee or you're in a mental hospital. So which one? You can't be both. See what I mean? They've obviously lied around history between a refugee and a mental asylum. They've stuck everybody in there, and then you can either be a patient or, really, you know, I think what the orphan children were about and everything. It's all the same thing. They were just great big buildings they built to put people in, quarantine them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it seems like. It seems like it's just grouping people, and really pushing people now, towards cities and stuff. That's what we see today, and it's when it doesn't need to be like that.
More and more stuff. Do you think the forts were forts to start with, or have been put into forts? Do you think they were forts? Because a lot of them are star forts, aren't they?
Yeah, I personally, I don't know, but I don't think they had anything to do with, say, war, or I don't think they were forts. They didn't build these things to be forts, because the architecture doesn't even make sense to start with. Like, so they're all stars. I mean, you would just build a box, a square, if you really have a fort, or you have.
Well, they show us that in the cowboy and westerns. They're just little wooden squares.
Right.
On the videos, we were watching one last weekend. It was they turned up on their horses into this little wooden box.
Yeah,
Don't mention all this stuff, do they? That they're in places like this.
Yeah, and especially this one. I mean, it's all sand, white sand. I mean, you can barely walk in it, without your calf muscles hurting. And they're supposedly having donkeys and horses and 21.5 million bricks, and takes 5 years. I mean, it's just totally stupid. And I just think that all these buildings, old world, I don't know what their function was, but they ended up looking like this after the apocalyptic meltdown, and then they just put a narrative on it. So who knows? I'm beginning to think that the ones with just tons of layers of bricks, 40 deep, 50 deep brick, were some kind of components, because they all harnessed energy, I think, most of them, and all of them. And the ones that were lived in maybe didn't have as many layers of bricks. That's just a shot in the dark, but there's no reason to have that many layers of bricks just to live in. So they had to have another function.
Yeah.
It's just like on a motherboard. You have components that do certain things to make everything run, and that's what it kind of looks like to me.
Do you know what, as well, lots of people would say to me, oh, you're so lucky, Americans and that, you're so lucky, you've got so much history, and when we actually look at it, you've got as much, if not more, than us, really.
Yeah.
All hidden.
Especially because...
Except you haven't got a royal family, but you can have ours if you like.
No, you can keep them.
Okay.
You can have ours too.
Yeah, because you know what? We looked up Ellen DeGeneres. She's not only cousin to Brad Pitt, she's related to the Queen. She's related to Camilla, Kate. That's William's wife. She's related to just about everybody, whether it's a blood relation or a in-law in relation. And when you look at it, she really should be a queen. She's that royal, really. Her bloodline. She's more connected to the royal family than the royal family.
Yeah, it's crazy. It always seems to happen that way.
She's got all the same grandparents and everything that the Queen has.
Wow.
It's quite bizarre. So, and then she's related to half the actors.
Yeah.
That's it. The actors of the royal family, aren't they? The actors of the royal family.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Were you, because obviously you've taught me a lot, especially when you've been going around the graveyards. And do you know what? The other day because we went to Avebury, and we were looking around the houses and a church, and I suddenly thought I saw one of those metal boxes, like you've seen. I went, oh look, Mickey, it's the same as my... Oh no, it's not, it's brick. I was really upset. So obviously when you found that one, they're not actually that easy to find, are they, those ones, the metal ones?
Yeah, they're not actually what?
So easy to find, really, those ones.
No, which I've seen them, let's see, that's 2 in one place, 1 in another. I think I've seen a total of maybe 4, and 2 of them were at one site right next to each other. One looked completely melted. It had like concrete stuff looking on top of it, and it was all folded in. But yeah, those are really hard to find, those certain ones that I showed.
You taught me a lot like that. Like, I never thought that when we got to a churchyard that half the things we were looking at, which looked like sort of tombs, were buildings.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just tops of melted buildings. I don't know. Graveyards are a really weird thing. The old ones, but it looks like a lot of it was components sticking up, and they just put a narrative on it, and then they bury people there now too. But who knows if there was actually people in those really old ones and what function it had. But it's just building.
It's really strange because you don't see one kind of building, or you just see a mishmash of everything. That's the weird thing.
Yeah.
We've got pictures up right now. That one there is what looks like the turtle, and then one of its legs is missing. So this is the little video that me and Mickey did. I've got no obviously volume on there, but it was just showing that this place that Mark had gone to was a star fort.
Yeah.
It is so weird that so much is abandoned. Like, why have all that there? So at one point that was really busy, but now it's not.
Yeah, and that one, the narrative is 1947. They just abandoned it. But why would you abandon something that huge? And why wouldn't you just continue with it, make it a base or whatever? But
no, you have to waste even more of our money by building ships and other bases that we don't care about and don't want, but just waste much more money building them and abandoning the ones that were okay.
Yeah. And then just take more of our money to build other stuff.
It's funny to think what was there, when you see where some of these guns are even placed on the land and where they're pointing, it's hard to work out who's the enemy.
And when I'm walking around in that fort, I'm like, this makes no sense. Are you shooting at yourself, or, it makes zero sense. And then, they'll have guns facing back towards land, which is they have another fort. I'm like, you're going to shoot it yourself?
I really hope it wasn't that, Mark. We don't know what the past really is about. Maybe that was to keep us in.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just there's a big like hole, because I got this feeling there was like more League of Gentlemen, and then the poor Victorians, and then something happened from these League of Gentlemen, the floods, the electrical arkings, whatever it was, and but we can't prove any of it. I mean, England was supposed to have earthquakes and tsunamis in the 1800s. Did you know that? Did they ever talk about that? No.
No.
And that could have got rid of the land, or what they call Doggerland. There was another pier in Brighton that had 18 tons of marble on it, and they went to France. It was quicker to get to France on their boats than to go from Dover over to Calais. And that got knocked down, and then that was burrowed into the hill, and it was half a suspension bridge. And after that, they made a suspension bridge from that pattern, and you think, what? But that one fell down. Oh, it's just all bananas. But that much effort on so much, it just boggles me. But anyway, listen, 1 second. The video is just finishing, so we need to go and get another one. So we'll be back in a second. Right. So we put another one of Mark's videos on now, which will be coming on in just a second. Yes, it's playing. Mark, when on the other fort, you said it was something like 1 million and something bricks. That
21.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 21.5 million. That's what they say.
That is just. So where do you think they'd have got all the bricks from? Brick.
Yeah, and then they hauled it all through the sand, apparently, or supposedly with horses and carts, donkeys. Because that was over 200. Well, that was almost 200 years ago.
It's amazing what they could. Because obviously we showed a video about a tower in Bournemouth the other day, and that's exactly what the guy said. He said, look, we've got car parks and roads, but we didn't then. How did they do it?
Right, and they can't do it now for some reason.
And this is what they said about Brighton. They were saying, well, it was difficult delivering the bread and milk to the people because we didn't have roads. Well, they're burrowing this half suspension bridge into the hill.
Yeah, just conveniently goes into the hill.
None of it makes sense, does it?
No. And, a lot of these, you'll see the brick or stonework. I say stonework, it's all brick, but, and it's just pushed against dirt. Like, why would you do that? Or it's pushed against mountain.
You mean no foundation?
Right. or they'll
And
have
it's still,
all of a sudden
if
you'll
it
see
hadn't
the
been
bricks
like
on top
knocked
of
down or broken or burnt, it'd still be there without foundations.
them. Right. Yeah, my favorite's when they say something catches on fire and then it looks melted, but the fire, it doesn't get that hot, so fire doesn't melt brick, not like that. So
You know what though? I remember in your videos, because I came across you really when you were looking at those ovens. Hundreds of those ovens. We wanted to find infrastructure, didn't we? And I'd have wondered whether, seeing some of the buildings, even in England, I said to Mickey, well, if they burnt that and knocked that down and then years has come along, do you think that's what Mark's finding? He's actually finding the infrastructure. It just looks so bad.
right, yeah.
It's so abandoned that it's hard to work out whether that's 100 years, 1,000 years, 2,000, 10,000.
Right, because they, and I've seen stuff, certain rocks or whatever, for 20 years or so around me, and they don't change. They don't change color, even with the bricks. I'll look up old pictures of places I've been to, and they're the same. They don't weather. That whole, as far as the hard stuff, that doesn't erode like they say. So yeah, there's no telling really how old these structures are.
They almost look methylific.
Yeah.
Also,
and
this
yeah,
one
the video
here.
you're watching now, one of my favorites. The foliage was gone because I've been back to this place. This was the third time, and this is the first time I had the drone, and so I could see a lot more, and just the bricks all in between the blocks, and they transition from the block to brick. It's so obvious to me. As far
What
as
is that? We're just looking at that right now. As you said that, we've got blocks and bricks on the screen. And what does that mean? That means it looks like it's been mended about 5 or 10 times.
Yeah, I just think it's all the same. At one part, you'll see the brick coming over. It's like a little wave, but it's just pushing. Everything's expanding, intense electrical heat, expanding, changing the state of matter of it from the brick, and they block up. They sear together, block up, they pop out. It's just like when you're cooking something real hot and it's bubbling, or
1 second, it says bricks transitioning to blocks. So what did you mean by that then?
Like, okay, so the bricks that you're seeing, just the regular bricks that are all mixed in, they block up into these huge boulders. They do boulders.
We're looking at that now.
Yeah, and you'll see it one when I get a close-up shot with the brick and the boulder to the right of it, and there'll be lines in it, 3 little lines. That's just the brick lines. That hasn't when it stopped. Everything, the electrical heat, whatever, stopped, and then that's what you're seeing. The brick changed to the blocks, and then some brick just didn't get hot enough, and it just stopped.
Do you find that weird that brick can do that? Isn't that weird that it can do that?
Yeah.
So basically, what you're saying is that when we see all these methylific structures with these great big boulders in them, they were all brick.
Yes, everything.
Oh
is
my
brick.
God!
Yeah, it changes into this.
And does that mean that it's not old enough unless it's a great big block?
Right. Well, see, the bricks that you're seeing in the video and the blocks, they were built. They're the same age. Whenever this was built, it was same time, and then it got destroyed like this, and it changed it, chemically changed it. It's just like if you get burned up in a fire or something, your skin, your body, everything, it chemically changed, and it's different.
Do you think it's that long
when
ago?
You melt anything.
Because they were still exiting like asylums and all that up until the year 2000. So, I think some of it is more recent that they've done whatever they've done. They've just been getting rid of it slowly, or trying to destroy it, or keeping us away, or abandoning it.
Right. Yeah. See, I don't think they built any of this. All the narratives in the 1800s set what all these buildings and everywhere, your area, my area, all the old world stuff. Yeah, it was all built same. Not the same time period, just before this event happened.
Yeah, they're obviously magnificent. It was all nicely built. It was all nice.
Yeah, it was awesome. In that fort, I had one of the videos. I pan up to the ceiling, and it's just incredible. It looks like it's kind of melted down, but just the architecture.
What, in the fort?
brick.
In that fort you went to, you panned up, and it was the round.
Good brick and brown.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see any other one like that in any room. I didn't go in all the rooms, but
Are these small bricks or normal size bricks?
Yeah, I think they're all normal size bricks, and then when you see the bigger ones and the smaller ones, it's changed because of the event to smaller or to bigger. Heat expands, especially electrical heat. It'll expand it out. Anything like blowing it up. It's like when lightning hits, say, a sidewalk, and it's just a little piece of it, but and it changes it to, say, glass or rock, just a little section of it, and that's what I think we're seeing, but in a whole different fashion, obviously.
Is that why it looks like they? Is that why? Sorry, is that why it looks like they've built on top of other buildings and other things? Because this is what's actually happened. It's all sort of been doing this bit. We're watching it right now. We've got boulders and brick, and you're saying all of that was brick, but some electrical arcing or electrical heat has caused that. And then people look at it and go, look, there's different buildings down there, when actually it's all the same. Yeah. It's just been burnt.
Yeah, they'll put 4 different time periods on one structure. Yeah. You know, they say, oh, this was built, this time period, and then another time period. It's just all the same.
What an event, then. Hardly any of us would have survived this. I mean, we must have gone, quick, get to the top of the peak right now of the mountain. We want to be as far away from that.
It would have been terrible. Yeah, there's no telling.
And do you know what I thought the other thing was as well, Mark? The other reason it might be so abandoned is they, in America, for some reason, don't want you to know that Portugal, Spain and Mexico, or Mexico and Spain were run in America. It wasn't England. So the independence thing was something different. That was not real. It's not what it says it is. That was to get the corporation. So America is now a corporation. But it's not true. We didn't run America. Everywhere else did, especially Spain and Mexico. And that they don't like that. And that's probably why a lot of it's abandoned and been knocked down. They don't want you to see how many Mexican buildings there were in America. Not all over America, but quite a few states had these Mexican buildings.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
I don't want the people to realise that everybody in the movies. What do? They make fun of the Mexicans, whereas really they were in charge.
Yeah, it's opposite.
Yeah, and even with the Indians,
Yeah.
We laughed at them, and you're going, no, I just wish we had an Indian. He'd know everything.
Yes.
Yeah. To see where this video is. We've got a bit of time yet. We've got another 10 minutes, just checking. Don't want to run out of your videos. Yeah, well, I appreciate the amount of time that you spend on it. And it is hard, isn't it? Because I bet you could have picked 25 subjects, but you stuck to your bricks.
Yeah, I wanted to. I was into a lot of stuff pre this bricks, but once I started getting into it and realizing, hey, this is major. If this is true, right, towards the right path, it makes everything else a lie, because it's in no books, it's in no religious books, it's in nothing about this
some
event.
Great big cataclysmic thing has happened, and it's not written anywhere.
Yeah, and then they're teaching you history. History on what? Well, you've lied about what we're living on, that we can see with all these bricks and melted. So all the history is a lie too.
Yeah, because this was one of my point about the royal family thing. Suddenly, it's not suddenly. They said that it got mentioned in the late 80s and 90s, but suddenly through this TV program, it's called The Crown. It was mentioned that suddenly Princess Margaret finds out, what do you mean half my family are in an institution? And then there's a big argument with her and the Queen Mother. And so suddenly everybody now knows that 5 members of the royal family are were in institutions, but you're finding it out on the news and on the television. And it's like, well, I never knew that. And like, well, where did that come from? And now that's going to be in our history when it probably never even happened. Do you see what I mean? They change it and do whatever they want.
Yeah, they just make up just anything.
Yeah.
So that was my main reason for sticking with the bricks meltology.
So when you realise that what you're looking at is it's all brick and then this electrical heating has turned some of it into boulders, what does that make you think then? Like, I know, because first of all, you probably have to think about it and talk about it for about 2 years, and then you think, no, I know what I'm talking about now. It's a bit like that, isn't it? Because you're like you're going to be going against anything anybody else thinks.
Yeah, and I'm always open to, that's how I got to this point, to, other people's opinions, because I try to relate it to it. But yeah, I haven't found anything yet or seen myself as far as anything but melted brick and changing into rock, mountain, slate, crystal, sand, dirt, everything. It's all the same.
And how did they number these bricks? Because you told me, obviously Mickey knows that they numbered the bricks. How did they do it? What, do they get to 100 and start at 1 again?
I know I've only seen the one place with a lot of numbers. I'm saying a lot. They had like 476. It's 17, 16. So who knows? And it's almost like looking maybe like at a puzzle. They're just numbered, and then they were put certain places. Who knows how they built?
It sounds like, Mark. It sounds like I'm going to order the Lego set Star Fort.
Exactly.
All the pieces come and we just put it together.
Right. It's just like when we get something today and everything's numbered. You just put it together. That's what it's looking like. And
the other thing that I just find really incredible, that even though, like you saw in your fort, it's above ground, there's lots of it underground, like there is at Donington Castle. Everybody just sees a castle, and I try and tell people, no, but there's rooms underneath.
It just goes down and goes down further.
Yeah, and some of them are like that one they found near Hastings, wherever it was, Mickey. That was just, it's like a pyramid inside the ground, and it kept going down. They gave up. They didn't even get to the bottom of it. And you think, there was brick in there was stone in there was 2 types of stone and brick. And you're like, they mended all this. It would have taken them years.
Yeah, it makes no sense. In all the mines and stuff, you'll see rock, and then all of a sudden you'll see brick and block. And like, well, why are you putting brick and block down here? It's a mountain, supposedly, that you don't need any support. But yeah, you'll see brick and block in the walls, way down underneath. So yeah, it makes no sense.
The other thing as well is, you've seen pictures as well, isn't it, that the pyramids have bricks in them?
Yes, they're all brick. I've had, like I told you before, there's so many pictures out there that you have to dig for, but they're close-up shots, and you'll see those big, say, megalithic blocks on the outside, but right underneath that shell that you're seeing of the big megalithic blocks, there's brick. It's all brick, and they've changed into that block, and they put like stucco and facade cement over them too. It looks like, and then that melted too, and interchanged with everything. But yeah, all the pyramids they're just brick.
Well, the bit that shocked me was about the tree guy, when he was saying that you're looking at trees, they've turned into sandstone, and then limestone is burnt sandstone. And I thought, oh my God, the pyramids, they're trees.
Yeah, he can confuse you. But sandstone, limestone is just brick.
Oh no, I looked that up myself, Mark, that one. I looked it up on the computer. Yep. I wanted to know what the difference was between limestone and sandstone. And sandstone is just heated up limestone. The other one.
Right, it's just more cooked.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Yeah. So
it makes you
simple,
try and, like you, when you see some of this stuff, you try and go and find your own history, and you always find a bit more, and you find some more interesting stuff, and then it's you can't move it on
down.
Because there is, like the fort you were just looking at, there isn't proper history about it. It's not built when they said it was, and you can't work it out. You just can't.
Yeah, you don't know where to start. I mean,
those bricks we're looking at right now could be 2,000, 3,000 years old, or 200 years old, but they look old. So on your transitioning block ones, they look old.
It's just if you have, say, before the apocalypse meltdown. So you have these buildings, and then one's really damaged, and then one's not. But they're the same age, really. They're just differently damaged. Or you could have one that's 5,000 years old and just 400 years old, and you don't know it, but they all got heat damaged like that and changed them. So you don't know, how old any of these buildings are really.
Why don't they fall over when they transition into the boulders? Why do they keep their form and that? Just asking. Brick seems to be one of the best things to build with, doesn't it? It can work in water. It can work everywhere.
Well, it's like all the leaning towers. There's hundreds of leaning towers. It's not just the one. And
so they bend as well.
Wherever it's yeah, and so when this event happened, it's that's why all these rocks and stuff, but it sears, and it's not going to move because it's like it's attached probably to like hard rock boulder underneath, and that's why you see all these things leaning. They're just melting and turning over from the bottom. The bottom is just like a melt, and it re-solidified very quickly. There's a lot of stuff these rock curtains that look, it's just like paint coming over, but it's rock, and it's just stopped. So
because if they did, say like now we're looking at quite a lot of boulders with some bricks on the top. If they put bricks in the boulders like that separately, it wouldn't be so strong, would it?
No, you don't. You wouldn't take a boulder and then start putting bricks on it. I mean, it makes no sense. There's you need a level foundation to build anything, and they do that today. It just makes no sense. You don't do that.
I'm just trying to get people.
Why are you hauling all these big boulders?
If people aren't sure about your brick boulder thing, I was just trying to make it so that they could understand it more. That you wouldn't have bricks and boulders together. It was all one structure, and something's happened to it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm with you, Mark.
Yeah, and I mean it's for everybody to make their own decision. This is the way that I see it. Really, everybody in the meltology field sees it. As far as it all being the same.
Can I ask you something else as well? They seem so much more advanced. How they built things, the corners, even if it's a wreck now, and it looks. Some of it is just what buildings are left. In the cities are amazing, but they're not really that modern. They're still old. Those buildings, aren't they? It's not like they're futuristic.
Oh no, and they're all the same. They're all built the same. Yeah, it's not like it's this big huge mystery as far as how it looks like they were built. But I do think they were changed and twisted and formed. Some of them that aren't completely squared or whatever from the event, and it changed it into certain things looking. And they say it's just a marvel how they created this or whatever. And I think it's just the heat and pressure and everything just kind of changed the brick to certain things. But
yeah, somebody else put a comment in the channel the other day, Mark. They said the reason that it's red brick was that in the smogs you could see, and they said, I'm telling the truth.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
In England, in London, they had loads of smog and stuff like that. They said they were painted, they were red bricks so that you could see them in the smog. They show up in the smog. That's what he said, didn't he, Mickey? Mm-hmm. Mickey saw the message.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's, I hadn't heard that one before.
Yeah, I didn't know what to say to that.
Yeah, I don't either, really. I don't.
You never know whether they're nice or they're just trying to invoke an argument. Those people, don't you? On your channel, most people are really nice, aren't they? And you know who your friends are, and even if they make, when they're joking, when they mean things. Whereas when people come in, I don't know what to make. Yeah, never heard that one before.
No boy.
That's what's great about this community too. It's everybody. You just know really kind of each other's thoughts, and you can kid around.
You know where that is, don't you? We all have the same subs.
Yeah, yeah, it's great.
Yeah, your channel's doing quite well now. You've got quite a few subs now, Mark. So well done.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm getting a few more viewers. So I know it's suppressed a little bit, but all of our channels. But yeah, I'm excited about that. I never thought I'd have 100 people on there. So.
Oh my God.
Oh, Mickey's one of yours as well. He subbed to your channel.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Mickey.
You opened my eyes, mate.
Oh, have we come to the end now? I think we've come to the end. Let's have a look. Yeah, we've come to the end of this one. 1 second, Mark.
That's the number.
We're looking at another one now, Melted Realm. I know what happens. If we came to your house, you'd want to show your prize bits, and we'd go in a room, and there'd just be a room of bricks.
Correct.
Bits of bricks, or bricks with numbers on.
Yes, I have a closet actually in my garage, and it's I got a couple of shells or 3 shells just full of bricks, melted bricks. So
Yeah.
I got 2 or 3 that are half and half. I've shared some pictures on the groups, I think, of those bricks. One of them is in that video with my dog at the very beginning. That brick's half and half. I'd love to take it to a geologist.
Do you know what also it looks like, Mark? We're looking at it's the Melted Realm, so you just showed us a burnt brick. It's almost as if you could just pretend that what was it, a Megatron? It's called a Megatron gun. They supposedly had one in Edinburgh, and they could point it at something and go, and then they cover it in rock, and they ruin it and break it and do whatever it is. It's almost like they've had other technology to do this, or do you think it was a natural Earth thing, or they all say the rivers rose, which sounds a bit like Noah, to be honest. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm personally I'm on the page of it looks intentional, but I have no idea. I just say intentional because of how it is today. After the event, it looks like it continued as far as taking over this place. I mean,
they don't care what they abandon and leave. There's been schools and hospitals, and they leave biohazard behind and bits of people's body. They just don't care. So you could be looking at, this could be Mexican or Spanish, and they've destroyed it.
Right. And with the flood thing, like you're saying, Noah flood, whatever. So when this event happened, you have all these, water ran through everything, all these buildings, and it with it for energy and whatever else, just perfect. And so when it melted down, destroyed, that's why you see all the water coming out, spring water, because I can't even tell you where water comes from. It comes from the earth. So when it melted down, there could have been tsunamis because you have a huge building and it melts on, and then the water rises, and then all the plumbing from all the buildings are just going, and it flooded everything, and then that's what the level we are now. Once it floods, and then now we're sitting there in the flood.
We're in the end of the flood.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, there are trees out in the sea at the bottom of Miami, like there were forests. They dredged some up, and there was about 60. Well, I can't remember if it was kilometres or miles, but it's still a long way, isn't it? It's all 20, 30 miles for us, 60 kilometres for you. Well, they're about 40 miles out. That's quite amazing. But then they said in that programme, this is what happened: land comes, land goes, because of tsunamis and things.
Right.
When water moves, it changes what's left behind and where it's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them must be natural, but I just don't know whether we're living in some kind of simulation. And they go, because, obviously the news is so controlled by the media and what we watch, nothing's real. So, they could be controlling everything, and you're like, oh, I just want to be left alone.
Right, exactly.
It's really hard, and I just think it's disgusting when we really want the truth, that we can see left over so much and just still got no answers.
Right.
Because you can't tell whether this was broken in the 1800s, the 1600s, or even earlier.
Yeah, no clue.
Because for hundreds of years, they used the same things.
Yeah, and that's why I think it was, for me, it was intentional, this, but I have no clue. It's just because they control so much today.
I mean, do you think it looks Roman, or do you think it looks like I told you? It's more.
Yeah.
It's more.
The Romans. That's all they say. The Romans. The Romans.
Well,
so, I mean,
only
we have
because
Roman stuff over here.
We're
so.
still in the Holy Roman Empire. You know, Putin and Biden have the same eagles. So, yeah, that's the sad thing. But they don't care what they abandon. They don't care.
No, they don't care about anything, really.
I'm really shocked at how much of America is abandoned. You know, you've got half of Detroit is rotting away. You know, they don't talk about these things. I remember Trump said, we need to make America great again. Well, he wasn't lying then, was he?
You know, they actually speak sometimes, these puppets, true words, but not in the fashion that it needs to be spoken.
You think they've now got us on this other thing in Europe, and they haven't even told us about what they've done here?
Yeah.
What big war happened here?
Yeah.
But I do find it really weird, like we said earlier on, because that's it, you only have circles to go round. But how some of this equipment, which looks like they've got guns on it, is facing all the wrong way. I don't get that. I just don't get it.
Yeah, and like cannons, you know, I think that's just total BS. They weren't used for that. I'm tending or going towards like sound machines or something like that. But they didn't put big balls in them. I mean, you don't even see anything damaged with big holes or balls, or you know, it's just dumb. They did something totally different function.
Yeah. I was going to say something now, but it's gone out of my brain because I suddenly thought I've got to shut the window because someone out there is mowing their grass. So I've shut it now so we don't hear it on our hangout. One thing I've noticed though is that there are, like right now, you're going past a tree, but the trees aren't terribly big in all these places, are they? They're quite big, but
right.
So what does that tell you? Because obviously, if it happened to go and the trees have grown, then you could say, well, that's 100 or 200. What do you get any feelings about how long ago it was?
Yeah, the best one as far as the vegetation trees that because I look at that a lot now, and those coke ovens, and I compared the years what they said when they built it, when they left. They don't have very many black and whites of it, and I'm looking around and I'm like, well, these trees, you know, maybe a couple 100 years old, 50, just some of the oak trees and stuff. You really can't tell with the pine trees; they grow quickly, but it doesn't make sense. How do these, you know, these trees should have been here when y'all were in business or supposedly doing this stuff. So vegetation really is a key, I think, of putting a timeline at least closely to when this happened.
Oh, sorry, you're holding a burnt brick right now. When that brick, does it go like charcoal, or is it?
Yeah, and I actually said something else, but I think that's turning more charcoal. And there's coal. They dug supposed coal around there. It's because there's coal in there, but that's a brick. It's very light. I'm watching it now, actually.
So what does that mean? There was masses of it, and it's all burnt and broken, and now it's coal and.
Yeah, I was just comparing the weight of it when I was dropping it, and it's just you could probably float in water somewhat. So yeah, it's just, and I dug that out of the ground a little bit. It's just charcoal, coal, or whatever you want to put on it, but yeah, it's just brick, and you can see the brick line in it. Yeah, I mean it's obvious it's a brick, and it's everywhere. So
it's just so shocking that we're that lied to, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean on a massive scale.
I mean, I did say in one of my videos yesterday, it's like, what I realised was that we were totally mined before we were even born. You know, we're talking about, it was over by, say, the early 1900s, all the mining. And then anywhere you go where you see a pond that's square, that was a mine. They'd mined that. They're not ponds, they're just empty mines. And it goes on and all that. And I was like, wow. As I thought, we must be the great-great-grandchildren of the miners that worked here. Because they've just mined where we live to death, abandoned a lot of it.
Yeah, and all those mines, I wouldn't say all, but most, it's just cave that they're actually just the buildings. And I don't think they mined anything back then. They just went in, whoever, and just took out the valuable stuff or technology or whatever that was left over in all these buildings. And then, of course, yeah, there's gold and silver, whatever that melted, and then the brick and it's changed, state matter, whatever. But when they mine today, they're just mining melted buildings, and they're just starting from the top and going down. They're not digging through mountains to get some gold. There's marble quarry near me. It's one of the biggest in the world, they say. And they're just, it's just marble, and they're just mine from the top down. They're not drilling or chiseling back then, or dynamite. I mean, that's just dumb to me. These huge tunnels, they were just there, and then they just went in and took stuff, and they might have dug here and there to get into certain other parts that were completely melted over or whatever. But yeah, I don't think they dug any of that stuff out. It was just there.
So who put that there then?
Yeah. Who put what there?
Someone said it's the fallen angels, but I don't know. And in a way, even I don't know about this, but it's a bit biblical, all the things that are happening, or just like rerunning the Bible. Or someone suggested we're here because it's a test. It's a big test being here.
Yeah, that's a mean test.
Well, are we making all this happen? Are we? The more we go on about melted bricks, the more melted brick you're going to find. Is that what's going to happen?
Yeah. What were you saying, Mickey? Did you say something?
So it's just sort of manifesting what we see.
Yeah, I do think that too. We all can manifest stuff. Happy thoughts, sad thoughts, anxiety, happiness. It all coincides with each other. And I think that's why they present fear a lot. If you keep everybody in fear, you're going to keep this whole system down like it's going. And if everybody gets on kind of the same page and stops listening to all that stuff, it'll turn. Maybe. Hopefully.
Yeah, and you've got to rise above it somehow and pretend that none of that's happening and get on with your life and keep going.
Right, just don't pay attention to it.
So anyway, we're sort of coming near to the end now of your vids. How many minutes we've got left? Yeah, we've got about 5 minutes. What are you going to continue doing now then, Mark?
Do the same thing I'm doing. I have I'll be doing my Wednesday night show. Probably every Wednesday. There might be some times where I can't do it.
And who do you have on there then? Just so that people know.
Yeah, it's the same as Spartan's Chill Out Zone, same genre, but I'm kind of getting into where I'm gonna just do a show on my channel and still be with Spartan and the guys there, and then I'll have people on my show. Now I'm thinking about doing maybe just a personal one-on-one every now and then for like an hour or two live stream. But yeah, and there's other stuff that I'm thinking about doing, but that's on my top priority list right now. And working.
Yeah.
That's about it. But it's about to get hot, summertime. There's a few sites that I'm going to go to that I haven't been able to around here.
Yeah, you've been on a trip already for this one.
Yeah.
So for the fort,
pretty big deal.
How far away was the fort from your house then?
From where I live now, it's about 5 hours, four and a half hours, something like that. Yeah, we were staying down there for like 3 or 4 days, and I had to go get boots before I left.
Do you find also in these places where all these things have happened to the buildings, it's very almost grey there?
Almost grey?
Like the colouring, everything's so dull.
Oh, yeah. Well, the video you're seeing, you see the black dirt and then the red clay, which is the same. It's the coloring. That's what the intense electrical heat does, too. It changes, it cooks the color. They say the brick is red. They all started out red, and they change it to darker, to lighter. and when you cook bricks to make, when the brick makers now, they just change the heat to change the color. So that's all that you're seeing. It's just different heat.
Just a minute ago, there was a brick that had kind of rounded, and it was a kind of brown colour. And I was thinking, well, I could say that was Roman, and then I could say that brick came from this. We don't know any of our history. They've just lied about everything. They've just told us it's these eras when we know it's rubbish. And actually, Normandy houses, we are living in Normandy houses, a lot of them, and the buildings were still using them, and that was about the 10th, 11th century.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those twisted arches in the churches, they're all Normandy. They were here, I think, say 11th century. I can't remember now if it's the 10th or 11th century, but we're talking about way back then.
Yeah, way back, supposedly.
It makes me feel so angry inside, Mark.
Yes. Yeah, I try not to get too angry. I try just to stick to finding out more stuff. And you probably saw one of my favorite shots in this one is had the brick and then the slate looking stuff in the middle of the brick. It's just, that was the brick turned into slate. It's compressed down, and it's squeezing it, and it changed the state of matter of the brick.
Isn't that weird? Oh, so when they put the slate on the house, it's actually just brick again. What are we living in?
They're just charging you high dollar for melted brick. Because at this site there was slate, so-called slate, everywhere, and transitioning right from the brick. You could see it from the brick to slate. It's just compressed.
Yeah, I think we're kind of looking at that now. Oh yes, look, it looks like somebody's painted tar on it or something.
Yeah, and that was
chocolate.
It's just melted.
Chocolate.
Yeah, it looks like chocolate. Yeah. It's got a sheen, and I was finding a lot of that glassy, black, hard, crystallized, whatever it's called, rock around here, and it's embedded in all the so-called looking cement stuff, and it's just churned up.
It looks like it's a coating on the outside of the bricks, though, because there was a bit gone, and you could see behind it was obviously the bricks turned to stone, but it was on the outside. It's not on the inside.
Right, and they had a lot of coating on these buildings, like I was saying, like the stucco or the cement or whatever on top of the brick, and it melted.
So we couldn't have just had horses and carts then?
No. No, they didn't build those with horses and carts.
I wonder what they had then, because did they have cars? Well, like to me, the buildings don't look that futuristic. It's like you could say, well, they're using something that we don't have today, or something that makes them look, it's just brick.
Yeah. And I mean, we don't even know really, or personally, I mean, was this place built and then populated, or was it populated and then started building? You just don't know, because these buildings are so immense and they go so far down. So
the bit underneath just boggles my mind, but I did put a video out which said that there was no Saxon invasion here, that they'd done this big cinematography. Oh, the video's just finished. I'll just stop that one there for a moment. Big cinematography, like it was the biggest one they'd done. And basically they were saying that they didn't feel that the castles were castles like that. They were actually places to put food. And they had lots of rooms under the ground, which makes sense that in the Star Forts, if everywhere's got rooms underground, they were storing food and whatever. It wasn't just, they're storing stuff.
Yeah, well, that's the narrative around here, all the churches. Why they all have basements? Why they go so far underground? They're like, well, in the Depression, they were storing food. Well, I mean, you can build a room and store food. You don't have to dig underground and rock and all that. It made no sense. It's just, that's their narrative for it. That's what they were told, their grandparents, whatever. So it's not like they're lying or anything. It's just what they've been told this whole time.
Now, as you've seen with even all the different types of bricks, how it's all worked out, they can say, well, that's Roman, that's from that era, that's from that era, and you're going to go, oh, yeah, it is, isn't it?
The Vikings did that, the Romans did this, whatever.
Well, Mark, we've done our time now. I'd talk to you for hours. We could have hours of talk if you wanted, but it's Sunday and you need to go and spend time with your family.
Yeah, I told my wife I'd get off an hour. We got to go run. Actually, one of my good friends' mother died today or this morning.
Oh.
So, yeah, she had cancer and stuff. So we're going to go over there and see her. But, yeah, I would talk to you for as long as you want. Love talking, hanging out with y'all, and I appreciate you having me on, Karen and Mickey.
Yeah, we appreciate you, Mark, and all the work you do, and thank you very much. I'm very sorry about your friend's mother.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, just for the hangout, we'll say goodbye, but we'll say goodbye when afterwards. But Mark, Mickey, chat room.
See ya.